Hello, YouTube. This is Dakota from Bowtied Media, and yes, we are here with a brand new janky studio. Actually, this is artwork that I made when I was like really young. This says 6 years old here, but yes, I'm in between studios right now, and also just started a brand new job. So thank you for the patience in these videos. But yes, we've got 2 weeks of This Week in EDM to cover 60 songs, ranging from trash all the way up to standout. We got a ton in standout. There was a crazy good week 2 weeks ago, and then a pretty small week this past week, but let's hop into it. First up in the trash category, we've got Rehab featuring Row with 10 out of 10. This song is not a 10 out of 10. This is just terrible through and through. The vocals sound terrible, the production is incredibly bland, and together they meld into one really poorly executed track. Then we've got Marshmello with Bassline Flexa from the new Jumpstart Volume 1 from this new Joytime Collective stuff from Marshmello. But yes, I am not really feeling this one. This sounds like all the worst elements of Marshmello songs thrown into one. The squeaky synth sounds terrible. The mixing is super flat. The hardstyle finale literally loses the track energy. And it's just a prime example of what not to do by Marshmello standards. Then heading into the bad category, we've got Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike and Timmy Trumpet and Sub-Zero Project. It's really annoying when Like Mike and Dimitri Vegas do whatever, but with Move Your Body. Hardstyle for the sake of hardstyle with no honest attempt at creating something new and creative. The off drops are definitely the best parts of the track, and even then they aren't doing much. Then we got Alan Walker with World of Walker, Rise of the Drones. I mean, what even is the song really for? What's it trying to accomplish? This is practically a derivative of all the worst Alan Walker tracks in one. The melody is obnoxiously generic, and I don't know, the transition from off drop to drops just don't gel well at all. We got Vicetone featuring KC with Spiraling 3 AM. Another modern Vicetone bore of a track that really just isn't doing anything one way or another. The melody is a drag, and the overall production is a bit of a snooze fest. Then we got Wales and WELON with Wish. A harsh rhythm cut from Wales that just sounds a little too jagged, with a drop that quickly loses its purpose. I think Wales fell into some classic traps of his own production on this one, and it just didn't work well. Then we've got PEEKABOO featuring Scrufizzer with One More Time, a brash trap cut with a wild mixdown. The hi-hats are piercing, the vocals are drowned out, and the melody is pretty linear. Definitely not feeling this one either. And then we're heading into the meh category. We've got Different Heaven with Out of My Mind from the new Singularity LP out now by Different Heaven. An early kind of mid-2010s NCS sounding electro house track here, and I do think it sounds pretty cheesy. I think the track is generally fine, but otherwise reminds me a lot of the days I started to get into EDM, and that's actually not a compliment to this one. Then we got Tiësto and Mathame with Everlight, a song that really doesn't do much of anything. The main sample of the melody isn't really doing much of anything at all, and the song is just boring. This is just generic Tiësto through and through.
It's bigger than you. It's bigger than me.
Then we got Above and Beyond featuring Justine Suissa with Bigger Than All of Us. Not sure I was particularly in the mood for this kind of idealistic, calming narrative. I feel like as an industry, we strayed away from these types of tracks, but regardless, it's not really a super interesting track in its own right. Very simple and very low energy. Then we got ARMNHMR with My Eyes. I didn't really care for 90% of this track, as I found it to be fairly generic melodic dubstep with vocals that were completely inaudible, but those random electric guitar movements were actually stellar and one of my favorite ARMNHMR like moments of the year, if not in a long time. Then we got Sudden Death with Time Bind from the new Void Volume 2.5 compilations, sort of 1 and 2 came out this past week. I'm definitely not too much a fan of this minimalistic rhythm that's borderline silly. There is no real interesting sound design and production, just a generic rhythm beat. Then we've got Sentinel and Alesso with Freedom, a typical tech house track with nothing really special going on here. Not to say it's super bad, just generic as all heck. Then we've got David Guetta, Hypaton, and Bonnie Tyler with Together. In the grand scheme of David Guetta music, this is a fairly solid, and I would say the best example of how to properly use sampling in today's day and age for David Guetta. It's not a total ripoff, it's just got that one kind of main hook from Bonnie Tyler and a simple house beat. It's nothing crazy good, but it'll do. Then we got Jaws and Silent Child with Shake Shit Up. Been a lot of pump up, kind of hype up bass music as of late. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like this one's got lost in the sauce a bit. It's fairly short, does have a nice synth lead, but doesn't really do much else. Then we got John Casey and Paid in Full with Earthquake. Bit of an odd trap cut here tonally with those klaxons and constant mention of the earthquake, but overall thought it was a decent track that would definitely hit most in the club, not much elsewhere though. Then we've got the Woolly remix of In My Arms, originally by Illenium and Hala. A pretty typical Woolly remix, I would say, of an Illenium track that just didn't really land for me, particularly with the very heavily abrasive final movement that is mixed way too hot for a regular listen and makes the track end on an incredibly jarring note. Then we got Armin van Buuren featuring Jai Ryu with Let It Be For Love, the second track from this insanely massive 51-song, 2.5-hour album titled Breathe. This song in particular has a great setup and solid lead production, but those drops are incredibly short, and didn't really have enough time for me to really engage with. Then we got Convexity, Caro, and Yuffie with Nature Tech from the new Nature Tech EP by Convexity and Caro. I really wanted to highlight this EP because I'm a huge fan of it holistically, but this track in particular is probably my least favorite. It's a little too sporadic for me at times and gets a little too lost in the sauce from time to time, but otherwise it's a solid new collaborative EP from these two that definitely deserves your listen. Then we got Andrew Bayer and Jason Ross featuring D.F. Frampton with Lighter, a safe progressive house track with an uplifting sound design and encouraging narrative, but it is otherwise a little cheesy and dated. Then we got Louis the Child and Nikita the Wicked with Hold Still, a wicked and wild hybrid trap cut that leans into some dubstep elements here and there, but has this sound design that's quite jittery, yet firm for a very kind of classic EDM synth sound, yet I don't think that particular synth usage is overly intriguing to me. Then we got Paper Skies with Canvas, a short but fairly sweet title track from Paper Sky's latest Canvas EP. This track is pretty much just a 1-minute lead-in into a 1-minute main drop movement, so that it's fairly unique in that way, but I just don't really get the sound design here. It's an odd mixture of harsh and smooth sounds at times for a fairly sporadic tune. Then we got Martin Garrix and Citadel with Peace of Mind, a short Martin Garrix track that could have easily had a third act as it builds and builds and builds into a second movement that is relatively underwhelming as a finale. This song had a huge potential to be a mega hit, and it just needed to pack a little bit more into it. This might actually be the biggest kind of what if for this year in EDM. And hopping into the good category, we've got Rameses B with Memoirs II from the new Liquidity Solar compilation. A pretty typical Rameses B track nowadays, and that's not to say it's necessarily a bad thing by any means, just a recognition that this is pretty much the norm for him. Then we got Shouse and Cub Sport with Only You from the new Collective Ecstasy album out now by Shouse. A simple but effective deep house track that does play things fairly safe, and it does hit all the marks though that it needs to be a pretty catchy tune. Then we got Reaper and Oliverse with Motion, a pretty great collab of two D&B legends right now. Nothing too crazy or over the moon about this one, just a clean, aggressive dance floor drum and bass tune with a great vocal hook. Then we got Rez with Prophecy, a pretty decent atmospherically minded mid-tempo track for sure. I'm just a little surprised she didn't do more with this track. I do think it's Rez's best in some time, and still thought this could have hit a little harder as well. Then we got Steve Aoki and Jimmy featuring Bon with Thanks to You from the new Hero Quest 3 Paragon album out now by Steve Aoki. Honestly, this track in particular isn't that bad. Yeah, it's definitely generic electropop, but it's got a neat vibe, the vocals are solid, and the main chorus is actually really catchy. This is the best track from this album for sure. Then we got Whipped Cream and BK with Nevermind. These two have unimpressed me as of late, but this latest track is great. It's got a jittery techno style that feels fresh, and the mixing is on point, as is always from Whipped Cream. Then we got Inzo and Bluka featuring Daya SB with Go Mode, a lovely bass kind of tech-leaning house tune with a strong hip-hop influence from Daya SB that makes this both a club classic and a headphone banger. A great balance of Go Mode and more creative elements. Then we've got Lost by Shopkeeper, which is a Cloudy Skies EDM alias, if you were not familiar, with the brand new 4x140 EP. A relatively simple house groove that starts pretty tame and straightforward, but gets doubled alongside this dense sustain that just packs a punch. Then we got F.O.O.L with Duality VIP, a more mid-tempoed version of the predominantly synthwave original track from a couple years ago, and I'd have to say I think I liked the original just a little bit more than this VIP. This VIP is a bit rougher and more rigid, and I think the more smoothed out F.O.O.L is just kind of my personal preference here. Then we got Cosmos Midnight with Hold On, Young Heart. A more typical house stylized track from Cosmos Midnight with their classic funky vibe, but this time it comes with a bright piano chord instead of a rocking bass guitar as its main lead. Solid tune. Then we got Slander and Son Holo featuring Julia Church with Broken Hearted. I think that all parties involved here were really primed and ready for a smash hit, and I would say that they cooked about 70% of the way. It's got a unique sound palette and structure, but just falls a little flat in the creativity department. Then we got Punctual and Hannah Bolin with Eden, a relaxing progressive house track that has a calm and soothing tone. Quite the nice atmosphere for a progressive house track that I feel like isn't super common nowadays. Then we got Modestep with Hang My Heart. I'm really intrigued to hear this fully fleshed out album, as I think Modestep has a lot going on right so far in these first couple singles. This track in particular is a more typical liquid drum and bass sound from Modestep, but they sprinkle in all these intricate little sound moments throughout to keep me engaged, and I really enjoyed the vocals, especially on the chorus. Then we got Night Punk featuring Dammy with Fresh to Death from the new Lawless EP out now by Night Punk. This track in particular is a driving techno tune with all the classic Night Punk sound design elements that makes for a truly Night Punk style song. Dammy's vocals here are intentionally stress-inducing, and with the constantly ramping progression, the song is like an intense anxiety bottled up. Then we got Chet Porter with You. Chet Porter with a blissful new dream pop, chill wave, ambient house, whatever you really want to call this track. But as the album art showcases, this track makes you feel like you're drifting through the ocean without a care in the world. Then we got Manila Killa featuring Nev with Rinse It, a jumpy tech house tune with a simple hook from Nev that works fairly well. Also a fairly safe track by tech house standards, but it has enough added spice to keep this thing feeling just a little more fresh. Then we got Nils Hoffman with Give Me Life. A smooth progressive house track with a bit of a moodier and darker tone to the track, but it works quite well, I'd say. Vocals are great, and it's just a classic house tune. Then we got Starseed with Metaphysical. Starseed continues to be one of the most adventurous and creative acts in the mellow dub game, and this is just another testament to that. Metaphysical is a spacious, at times odd, and fundamentally creative tune. Then we got Moby and Godard featuring Lavelle with Stereo, a new hybrid breakbeat and drum and bass tune from legendary producer Moby and friends here. It's a shorter tune, but feels longer for some reason, which is a good sign that things are going right. Then we have Violet Pony with My Love is a Quickscope, a hyper electro-pop track that has these, cutesy vocals and a murderous lyricism for a fun dichotomous mix-up. If you like that more hyper-pop leaning electro sound design, this will be right up your alley. Then we got Underscores with Music, a jittery trap and electro-pop fusion of a track with lots of hyper-pop influences that would be, I guess, fairly natural for Underscores. I love the longer, more progressive bridge and shimmering finale, although I think it could have used another movement, but I still did love this track. Then we got Nufori and Bad Computer with Mean It, a nostalgia-leaning electro garage house track with a heavy synth hit and stellar vocal chops. It's another short and sweet track that just doesn't stick around too long, but executes everything pretty flawlessly. Then we got Tokyo Machine, Temanite, and Boom Kitty with Busted, a wild ride of an electro house song that is essentially disguised as a rock song. The lead electric guitar is crushing, and this song is just intense from start to finish. Not what I expected from these three, but I'm a fan for sure. Then we got Oppadan and Venby with Over You, a silky smooth and calm UK garage track with a glassy synth and easily danceable beat. This thing is more on the reserved side of things, but sounds so incredibly sweet. Then we got More Kismet featuring 628 with Do What You Want from the new Saturate Your World LP out now by More Kismet. More Kismet, as creative as they always are, bouncing around a slew of colorful production elements and unique melodies, just this time with a more trap-leaning style on this particular track, which I am all for. Then we got Affinity with Stop, Drop, Roll from the new USB .1 EP out now by Affinity. Affinity is on a new hybrid trap kick, and I'm really feeling this one. This track in particular has a nice blend of very electro-sounding synths paired with a more modern kind of heavy trap beat, and even breaking into some dubstep moments here and there. Then we got Chime, Dr. P, and Frankie Nuts with Feel It, a huge triple collab that culminated into a pretty awesome tune that lived up to expectations, but I wouldn't say really exceeded them. You can definitely hear each individual artist's own sound design here, which is always something I love. Then we got Riot with Metalicious, without a doubt Riot's best song since Dogma Resistance, which is kind of ironic but also makes sense because the song is literally just copying everything that they did on Overkill. So, I mean, they're kind of, if they just pump out tunes like this over and over again, it'll work. This isn't nearly as strong as Overkill, but I mean, man, they literally copied it beat for beat, just added some more screamo to it. Then we got Alice in Wonderland with, again? Fuck. Alice in Wonderland continues her comeback tour with another switch up in style, and this is really working for me. I love the pitched up, more hyper-pop inspired vocals, while the soft yet punchy sound design is immaculate. A neat blending of a bunch of different genres here. Then we got AC Slater and Qlank featuring Coleman with You and Me. This is a relatively simple song that just sounds so wonderful. It's a delicate balance of bass house and garage that blends together for a unique style and groove. Easily my favorite AC Slater track in quite some time. And heading into the standout category, we've got a ton because it was a big last couple 2 weeks, we've got Frost Children with Falling. Frost Children has been killing these latest singles as they lead into their now 6th studio record. This track is high energy, quasi-nostalgic sounding, driven electro-pop track that works. It sounds like an early 2000s pop-punk track had a baby with Porter Robinson's Spitfire era. Then we got Zensei and Dream Suite with No Turning Back. A new style from Zensei, and I'm absolutely in love with this thing. It's part garage, part down-tempo, and it's all wrapped in these glassy synths that, when paired with the firm kicks, makes for a truly fantastic new tune. This is without a doubt my favorite Zensei track to date. Then we've got Effin and Nightmare with Daydreams from the new Daydreams album out now by Effin. The lead and title track off this new record is pretty much Effin to a T. Well, Nightmare is on this track as well. Effin takes the lead for the most part, and rightfully so, as this is both smooth when it wants to be and super rough around the edges in a pinch. I absolutely love this tune and think it's one of the best from the record. Then we got Grabbitz with Lose Control. Grabbitz covering Teddy Swim's now iconic Lose Control, and this might be Grabbitz's best cover yet. Grabbitz took the chorus and turned it into his most explicitly dubstep track in quite some years for a major stylistic switch up, and on top of that, Grabbitz's vocals are pretty much on par with Teddy Swim's here. This track is nostalgia for classic dubstep heads and something new for radio listeners. Just be nice to yourself, like yeah. Then we got Fox Stevenson with Yes! From the new Sunk Cost Fallacy out now by Fox Stevenson, which is a whole album. Yes, full review is coming out of this album at some point. Obviously, I'm in the middle of changing studios and stuff, so bear with me. But this lead track of the album is pretty much everything you want from a Fox Stevenson tune. A blending of drum and bass and indie pop that forms the signature sound of Fox Stevenson that's hard not to love. And heading into the emerging artist spotlight, we've got 2 this week because we missed 2 weeks. We've got Jask with All the Places First. This is a modern future-based track with a bright atmosphere and spunky synths. It's on the shorter side of things, but the sound design is quite exquisite. I am loving Jask right now. Then we've got Park and Sebastian Vidra with Feathering, a truly bouncy future-based cut with a lot of playful production elements. It's on the more calm side of things, and I'd say if you enjoyed Glacier's latest record, you'll really enjoy this tune as well. But yes, that's been This Week in EDM, the last 2 weeks in EDM. Let me know what you guys think of any and all songs in the comment section below, and thank you for bearing with me, especially with maybe the slow schedule as of late, but life happens. But other than that, I'm Dakota from Bowtied Media, and I'll see you guys in another video.